Mayor Henderson, we're now live streaming.
Thank you, Mr. White. Firstly, welcome everybody. First, I'll do the acknowledgements. Traditional owners. The Hepburn Shire Council acknowledges the Dja Wurrung as the traditional owners of the lands and waters we live and work on. On these lands, Dja formed age-old ceremony with the celebration, initiation and renewal. We recognise their resilience through dispossession, and it is a testament to their continuing culture, tradition which is strong and thriving. We also acknowledge the neighbouring traditional owners, the Wurundjeri to our southeast and the Wadawurrung to our southwest, and pay our respects to all Aboriginal peoples, their culture and law. We acknowledge their living culture and the unique role they play in the life of this region. So just with our safety, we've got the exit signs there. People, if there is a problem, I urge you to follow the exit signs, get out the front door. Please don't just leave so that we can actually count the number of people that are in here. Our toilets are through the door and to the left and down the hallway. So I'll now declare the meeting open and the councillors present. All councillors are present. Councillor Clark, we can see and hear you. You're on video.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Now I can ask Councillor Hewitt if you'll read the statement of commitment on behalf of council, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We, the councillors of Hepburn Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interests of the community, and also that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance, so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in this council by the people of Hepburn Shire.
Thank you. We don't, any apologies? CEO, don't believe any officers, all councillors are present. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest? No conflicts of staff or councillors?
I should just note for the record, given the budget's being considered tonight for endorsement, councillors don't have a conflict of interest in the budget, given it's a document and similar with the council plan. Although you live in the Shire, it's a budget that applies to everyone, so there's no conflict to those.
Right. So I believe we're now up to moving through office reports, and to introduce the report, I'm going to do this one. So the Hepburn Shire Council is embarking on a transformative period marked by a commitment to financial sustainability, service excellence, being community focused and doing the basics really well. This period will be guided by a set of strategic documents that collectively outline the Council's direction and priorities for the years ahead. The documents are as follows: the Council Plan 2025 to 29, including the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan, the Asset Plan, the Draft Budget 2025-26, the Revenue and Rating Plan, and the Financial Plan. Financial sustainability is central to our future plans. Like many councils across Victoria, Hepburn Shire faces increasing cost pressures, ageing infrastructure, and growing service demands. We need robust economic foundations to tackle the challenges head on. By making tough but necessary decisions today, we are safeguarding our ability to serve our community in the future. This commitment was formalised in September 2024 with the adoption of the Council's financial vision, a proactive long-term framework developed in partnership with the community. The financial vision serves as a strategic guide for service provision, project delivery and priority setting, safeguarding Council's financial stability for the next decade. To support the delivery of this vision, the financial plan outlines key principles and forecasts that underpin Council's financial performance and position over the next 10 years. It enables council to anticipate and assess the long-term impact of current decisions and provides a foundation for annual review and adjustment following each year's budget process. The 2025-26 budget is the first to be delivered under this framework. Developed in alignment with both the financial vision and the Council Plan 2025-29, it reflects difficult but responsible choices to ensure council remains financially viable in both the short and long term. The budget achieves an 11% reduction in operating expenditure compared to 2024-25 and delivers a 13.07 million capital works program, including substantial investment in roads, asset renewal and strategic planning. Despite significant and economic constraints, Council has prioritised core service delivery, community value and long-term sustainability. Council has received confirmation from the Essential Services Commission that its application for a 7% rate cap variation has been approved. The application to the Essential Services Commission was not made lightly. Council has carefully considered all financial levers available, including operational efficiencies, asset rationalisation and revenue diversification. The Council Plan 2025-29 itself outlines a shared vision shaped through extensive community engagement, built around three strategic pillars: Hepburn Life, Future Hepburn and Hepburn Working Together. The plan emphasises community wellbeing, sustainable growth and organisational excellence. It focuses on delivering outcomes that reflect aspirations of our community while ensuring accountability through annual action plans. Complementing this is the asset plan, which reinforces the importance of responsible infrastructure management. With over 500 million in public assets, Council must continually balance service demands, renewal needs and budget constraints. The 2025-26 budget reflects this, with significant investment in roads, open spaces and maintenance programs, essential for preserving community amenity and service standards. A range of engagement factors has been considered in the drafting of the Council Plan, including previous engagement activities, especially associated with Future Hepburn, township structure plans and rural strategy, previous Council Plan input and financial vision, councillor and officer insights, a community-based deliberative engagement panel, a Shire-wide community survey with over 400 submissions. We thank everyone for their contributions, but in particular, members of the deliberative engagement panel who gave up a lot of their time to contribute. As core inputs to the Council Plan, attachment details show the results and recommendations of the community-based deliberative and engagement panel and Shire-wide community survey have influenced the plan, along with a table that shows the alignment of community feedback to the Council Plan. Together, the Council Plan, Long-Term Financial Plan, Asset Plan, Revenue and Rating Plan, and the 2025-26 budget form a cohesive strategic framework. Hepburn Shire Council is committed to making decisions that build a resilient organisation and a thriving community. The report recommends tonight that Council endorses for community consultation through to the 5th of June for these important strategic documents. Council will create many opportunities for the community to review, provide their feedback, including a survey on Participate Hepburn and drop-in sessions, and hard copies will be available in our hubs. Thank you. We now move to our officer's recommendation. And the officer's recommendation that Council endorses the following draft documents for community engagement and consultation from 14th of May to 2025 to the 5th of June 2025. A, Council Plan 2025-29, including a municipal public health and wellbeing plan. B, Financial Plan. C, Budget 2025-26. D, the Revenue and Rating Plan. And E, the Asset Plan. 2, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to undertake minor administrative changes for the documents to correct errors and improve readability, if required, during the consultation period. 3, notes the draft documents are fully compliant with the relevant legislation. 4, notes that the results of community consultation will be provided to councillors to consider the adoption of the draft documents at the June council meeting. 5, thanks members of the Community Deliberative Engagement Panel for their involvement. 6, notes the Hepburn Together 2025-29 Community Panel Outcomes Report and ensures the panel and community that feedback from the panel has been included in the drafting of the report as included in the attached. 7, notes the Essential Services Commission decision to approve the Hepburn Shire Council's proposed hire cap of 10%, 7% above the state cap for the 2025-26 financial year, and officers are to bring a report back to council before the final adoption of the budget. 8, request the Mayor and Chief Executive Officer write to the member for Ballarat, the state government members for Ripon and Macedon, detailing the outcome of this resolution. Thank you. Councillors, I'm looking for a mover of that motion.
Yes, I'm happy to do that, Mayor.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm a bit ahead of myself. We need some questions first. I dare say we've got some questions. Councillors, questions?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll start the ball rolling.
Councillor Wood.
My question to officers is on the asset plan. And I might just give the opinion that of the 5 documents, I see that as being possibly the strongest and a very good plan. My question is about the condition of our roads. The graph in that plan indicates that around 80% of council's roads have been assessed as being in good or very good condition. Has that conclusion been reached just by our own officers, or has there been independent expert input into the assessing that quality?
There you go.
Mr. Lucas will take this one.
Mr. Lucas.
Through the chair. Thank you, Cass, for the question. It is pleasing. It's just trying to judge the graph. It's probably about 78% or that sort of order, just below 80%. We undertake a program of asset condition assessments on a regular cycle, and each asset class has a slightly different cycle, and I can't remember what they are offhand, but roads might be done on a 4-year cycle, and footpaths might be done on a 3-year cycle, and bridges might be on a 5-year cycle and the like. And those condition assessments are undertaken by an independent person to council. So we buy that expertise in to do that condition assessment for us.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. And I do note in a very positive sense that almost 55% of next year's capital works program is allocated to roads, drainage and footpaths.
Thank you. Councillor Hood. Councillors, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a follow-up question on the asset plan. Across several of the categories, or across each of the categories of assets, there is an assessment given about the confidence level in the data in which we assess the quality of the asset, the condition of the asset. So my question on data quality is, in a completely other part of the budget, one of the areas most proportionately being cut in terms of costs is IT. What, if any, implications are there for improving the quality of data that we've got on our assets when we're slashing the IT budget, to be blunt?
The short answer is zero. The ICT budget's more than significant to undertake the works, and allows for the continued upgrade. The data, I suppose, confidence is around how difficult some data is to get on, particularly drainage and other sorts, or maybe how out of date our data is. But the confidence level has no correlation with the ICT budget or allocations, and there's significant capital works allocations for ICT in the budget, so no correlation to the data quality.
So for those asset classes where we have low and medium confidence in the data, we do have the right processes and IT systems in which to capture that data and improve it?
Absolutely, or plans to get that system and the funding already included in the budgets to do that. So there's no correlation between the ICT budget and the asset quality and the asset plan.
Good to hear.
Okay, Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mayor. The question is around the Essential Service Commission's comments that one of our strategies for savings may have been to extend our loan period. And just, I'm wondering if, for the benefit of the room, could you give us some indication of what they actually mean by that, and have we considered that coming into this budget?
Thank you. So, Councillor, you're referring to, obviously, yesterday the Essential Services Commission made their findings and fully supported Council's application for the rate cap variation. They also provided a really detailed report of what they went through, and they'd engaged in an independent consultant to do some financial analysis. And one of the comments in there is in relation to loans, that had Council renegotiated its loan terms, would that have an impact? Part 7 of the motion, as read by the Mayor, indicates that we'll bring a report back to Council, so we'll provide, I suppose, in a bit more detail a response to that. But in short, it was considered, certainly was briefed with councillors over particularly leading up to the financial vision, and ultimately decided not to. And the parts of that at a summary level, and as I said, we'll provide the detail, is renegotiating the loan terms is likely to cost more, because we'd be repaying probably at a higher interest rate now, given interest rates have moved up, and particularly it just defers loan repayment. So on the surface, that doesn't appear, it's certainly in terms of short period, if we were deferring payments, it would mean there's greater cash in our bank for this year or next year, but it's likely to have an increased cost to Council over the medium to long term. So it was considered as an item and decided not to, but we'll provide some specifics to the understanding of that in response to the report.
Councillor Dry, more questions? Then Councillor Dry, I'll let you finish, then I'll ask Councillor Cornish.
Oh, sorry.
This budget, we see significant cuts to some services, and in particular, we're looking at cuts that deeply into areas of sort of human sort of services, environment, and the arts. Can you please give us some indication of how we've gone about that decision, and to what extent we can justify these sort of cuts, given the importance to a lot of these services that we know that people value?
Yeah, happy to in there. So I suppose there's a couple of things. So and these documents will be available on the Participate Hepburn site tomorrow, assuming Council endorses them tonight. Within the budget is a section, Section 5 of the executive summary, where we go through in a fair bit of detail each of the areas and provide where the savings at both a dollar and a percentage will be when you compare the 25-26 proposed investment compared to 24-25. So for community and councillors, there's a table there of about 3 pages that goes into that detail. What I would say is the input has been really significant over a long period of time. So if we take sort of a step back to a bit over 12 months ago, council went to the community and said there was a $4 million shortfall, and we embarked on a really significant project undertaking the financial vision. As part of that was significant engagement with the community. Those findings have been provided and been part of the workshops that councillors and officers have undertaken. So not only the financial vision input, we've been significant input through our service summaries and service maps that were played to council, and we've workshopped with councillors over the last 6 months where the direction of the council plan will be, and therefore where the resources will need to be allocated to match that council plan. Not for a moment underplaying that there is significant reductions to services right across the board. There is not a particular service that is untouched in these proposed changes, and none of us would like to be in this part, but it's necessary to find the $2.5 million of services. So, and assured, and councillors are well aware, but with community, there has been significant a number of briefings where we've gone through. We're not underplaying or overselling one particular service over another. This budget lines up the resources to achieve the council plan that's also before council tonight.
Councillor Riley.
Within this budget, we're seeing almost a doubling of our roads budget, over from $3 to over $6 million. Given the level of service cuts and other cuts that we're seeing, how can we justify such a large increase in our road budget?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. So you were referring to the Capital Works program, which Councillor Hood also alluded to. What I think is really important is the Capital Works budget will go up and down across the 10 years, particularly around the timing of grants. Now, we've been really successful in the 25-26 year of grant funding for rates. For roads projects. So that's additional funding, particularly in relation from state government, an additional $2 million, but there's also additional roads to recovery funding from the federal government. That is money over and above that we must spend on our renewal projects. So it will happen in other asset classes as government funds particular projects. We're funded through the asset plan and this year's budget and the financial plan at a renewal level. So we're basically renewing the current assets that we've got. And where possible, and we can take advantage of grants, we get the ability to do more. So it's not trying to over service in roads. It is within the Capital Works budget. It's no net cost additional to council. We would need to, if you get those grants and accept them, we need to spend that on roads that we would not have done.
You've said to us that all areas are affected by these service cuts, and yet we've seen significant areas such as parks and open spaces virtually untouched by this budget. How can we justify, areas with such large budgets not to be considered more deeply in this budget? Because it seems unfair to target other areas more significantly.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor, I would say that the budget's not unfair for using that word. It responds to the direction of councillors through the workshops to deliver the council plan. In terms of the direction of council through the council plans and the services it wants to deliver, the budget allows that. What I would say is there's a number of areas that some people would say are core to council, and certainly in terms of roads, parks and gardens in particular, and planning, and they are some of the areas that have had a less impact through this budget process, but impact nevertheless. I'd also say there are significant budgets in terms of our parks and gardens, our roads and our waste area. As indicated in the budget, there are areas that we will do further review into the future. So it's not saying that they won't have potential cuts into the future. They're saying that there are areas that we need to do more work and more research. So if we're going to reduce our maintenance spend in roads, why? And understand that in greater detail. So we've allocated indications through the budget that we'll continue to do it. But ultimately, it's a tough budget responding to our financial position that's come around over a number of years, and it directly responds to and delivers on council's priorities within the council plan.
In 2019, this council declared a climate emergency.
Mm.
Does that emergency commitment still stand? And does this budget walk away from that commitment?
Through you, Mayor. No, it doesn't. That's a resolution of council, so it stands. And you'll see that through the council plan, and particularly through the budget, there's acknowledgement of climate, there's an acknowledgement of funding within those areas. So absolutely, as I believe you're alluding to, there's a reduction in some of the sustainability initiatives. No doubt there's savings right across the board, but it doesn't walk back from any statements or council resolutions that have been made in the past.
Councillor Cornish.
Just one question I think is important for our community. The natural disasters, fire and flood, and the cost to our community over the past 3 years. Would you have a ballpark figure? I think we've discussed it, but I think it's important to specify that.
Yeah, so I think important. So it's about $3.5 million net cost to council. So probably closer to 15 mil of expenditure was incurred. Majority of that's reimbursed through the state and federal government analysis. So that's $3.5 million that has come out. I think it's also important to note there's obviously been decisions of the past made in council and particular projects as such. What the financial vision did is said we need to find the $4 million going forward. And with the news in terms of the successful ESC and independent commissioner backing that, this budget aligns with finding that additional $2.5 million. As we said, tough decisions, but we will work with community and impacted people around what do those particular service changes mean. We don't have all the answers today, and we're keen to work through with community if council ultimately adopts this budget and council plan.
Further questions? Councillor Clark, I haven't been able to see you up there as well as I might, so if I've missed you with your opportunity.
No, that's fine. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hewitt, any question? Councillor Hockey?
No, thank you.
Okay, well, if there's no, I just have a question I was thinking about the roads. Mr. Lucas, whilst our roads might be as good as we say, what would be the effect of cutting back on road maintenance now? What would happen in the future if we were to not maintain those roads?
Thank you, Mayor. The CEO touched on the capital expenditure that's been referenced by a couple of councillors now and the investment next year. And I would say that Hepburn Shire has been very responsible over many years now in investing in road asset renewal, which is why we've got some of the results that Councillor Hood referenced earlier. Council does need to continue to be diligent in managing all asset classes, including roads, footpaths and drainage. And if you have a look at the graph in the asset plan that Councillor Hood was referring to, it still shows that there's about 7% of our road network that is in poor or very poor condition. And so in this environment where we've got escalating costs, increasing expectation and lower funds to deliver, we need to be very diligent and careful about making sure that we're investing enough in the right areas to make sure that we continue to service our communities with our infrastructure overall. So that the short answer to the question is, if we decrease funding, what we'll find is that our asset base will fairly quickly deteriorate. And then it's a long way back to recover that and get assets back into a condition that they're currently in. And council might even need to consider increasing investment to stay equal with the rate of cost increase if we want to maintain the current service level. If we maintain the current expenditure whilst costs continue to go up, we actually deliver less year on year, and that will have a detrimental impact on our overall service.
All right. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I might ask another question if I may.
Councillor Hood, yep.
Largely for public consumption, I think, and just to emphasise a point that will be needed to be made in the communication plan over the next few weeks. In several places in our documents, the reference to the additional 7% increase to rates above and beyond the 3% cap is described as one-off. Now, I'm pretty sure that I'm correct in saying that that 7% uplift lifts the base of all of our rate income permanently, and that in subsequent years, all things being equal, there'll just be a rate cap increase. But the increase is permanent and ongoing and has a cumulative effect. Am I correct in saying that? It's just that some people may interpret the term one-off as something different.
Absolutely. So it's a one-off, permanent uplift. That's how we're trying to refer to it. But as the revenue and rating, the financial plan and budget, any future increases would be in line with the rate cap. So I think it's really clear to say this is not 7% and then another 7%. Absolutely, it resets the base, so it's a permanent one-off uplift. It's important to note that even with that uplift, as we did through the ESC Commission, Hepburn Shire would still be a below average rating council.
Excellent. Further questions, councillors? Well, so no further questions. I'm going to ask somebody to move the motion. Do we have a mover?
Yes, I'm happy to move the motion.
Yes, move councillor Clark. We've got a seconder. Seconded councillor Hewitt. Councillor Clark.
Look, yes, thank you, Mayor. And look, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the tremendous work of the officers and the community in pulling all this together, and also acknowledge the challenge and the courage of the council to make what has been, very, difficult decisions in an effort to really look to shape the future, so that as we move forward, we will be able to invest, we will be able to grow more back into the community, as we all wish to do, because that's why we're all here, but acknowledging that we have to be financially sustainable in the process to do so. I also want to acknowledge that what we're putting forward, the motion today, is very much around putting it forward to get additional community feedback, and that is a very, very important thing. We need to hear from our community, understand, also understanding that we will also need to make decisions as the elected representatives of council. I also want to acknowledge the work around the Essential Services Commission, and understanding that we got the report back only yesterday, and also specifically to point 7, I'm looking forward to also officers exploring and getting some more information back around from that report, which identified some issues to give us a better understanding. But I want to thank everybody who's contributed and will continue to contribute to this plan, which is going to be an important and critical component of our success as we move forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Hewitt.
Just to say that I endorse Councillor Clark's comments, and to just reiterate my thanks to the councillor group, to the staff, the officers who've and the community members who've both participated in the deliberative engagement, but also responded to the various community consultation forms, and to thank the officers for that work. The high level of work is been evidenced or proven by the response of the Essential Services Commission, but also for my fellow councillors who've sat down over the period and been very aware of the importance of financial sustainability. As Mr. Thomas has indicated, there will be a number of reductions in services. I think from looking at the draft report, there's an 18 EFT reduction. So it's going to be a very difficult time for officers and the community, but also councillors, to know that each and every one of us would have a range of views about what's more important than other things, and to really say to the community, this is your chance to look at it. And from the 14th of May to the 5th of June, there will be a number of opportunities to both twofold: to understand what's in the documents and then to make comment about it. And I would, I suppose I would urge the community members to take that opportunity to actually understand what some of the reasoning and some of the implications are, rather than just disengage or respond without taking the various opportunities there are. So, yeah, that's all I want to say about that.
Thank you,
Thank
councillor
you.
Ewart. Are there any other councillor? No, councillor Dryling?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to acknowledge, this has been a complex and difficult process to get to this point, and this is certainly not an easy budget. We are navigating real financial constraints, rising costs, years of rate capping constraints, and the compounding effects of climate change-induced natural disasters. These are not abstract pressures, they're real, and I understand the impulse to focus on what's seen as essential. I too want to thank our staff and community members and councillors sincerely for the care and effort that's gone into preparing these documents, and I'm pleased in many ways with the way in which the council plan has come together and what it offers to us as a fundamental guide for the next 4 years. I also want to acknowledge those whose jobs may be affected. These are not just operational shifts. These are people, and their contributions to our Shire deserve both respect and empathy. I understand why a back to basics approach feels like the safest path. Roads, rates, rubbish, focus on core business, stick to what we know. I want to ask, is that really safety, or is it just retreat? Is this financial responsibility or a quiet withdrawal from what we said we were? This back to basics mentality is not neutral, it's political. It chooses austerity over equity. It privileges what's visible and measurable over what's vital and meaningful, and it risks leaving behind the very people we claim to serve. We say we must go back to basics, but whose basics are we talking about? Because for many in the Shire, the basics include access to youth services, support for elders, connection through the arts, a healthy environment, and innovations in circular economy actions on climate. It certainly isn't the basics for young people facing a housing crisis. And yet this budget strips funding from many of these areas, including $95,000 from inclusion and positive ageing, $80,000 from youth, $100,000 from the circular economy, $84,000 from sustainability, $67,000 from arts and culture, and more across wellbeing, reconciliation, biodiversity and early years. Each cut is partly justified by a shift from delivery to partnership and advocacy. But let's be honest, advocacy without action is abandonment. You can't claim to fully value what you're no longer willing to fund. Yet some of our largest budget areas like parks and open spaces remain largely untouched. These services matter, of course, but they also have the capacity to absorb some of the financial pressure. Instead, we've placed the burden on programs that support people and many of the most vulnerable among them. The pain in this budget is not being shared fairly. And what of climate? We declared a climate emergency in 2019, proudly. We said this required a whole council response. We aligned with global efforts, adopted a roadmap committed to biannual reporting, and now it seems buried beneath statements of generic nature and internal efficiencies. When we needed to lead, we seem to be pulling back. And what have we done? Have we done everything we could? Are we to ignore expert advice to restructure our loans? We've delayed conversations on rate fairness. Have we considered options like short stay accommodation levies despite rising tourism pressure? We did ask the community, but we had over half the deliberative panel leave before completing their work. The survey followed too late to inform them. This is not just about numbers, it's about who we are as a council and who we choose to serve. Leadership isn't about doing less, it's about doing what matters even when it's hard. We can be careful with money and still be bold with our vision, because real leadership asks us to do more than manage scarcity. It asks us to shape the future even under constraint. It asks us to invest in the community. We
Riley.
want to become not just the road we
Councillor
want to
Riley.
maintain.
Councillor Riley, are you about to wind up?
That's it. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you, councillor Riley. I have indulged a little bit more time because it is important and we're covering a lot of ground, so any other councillor? Councillor Cornish?
I don't believe we're working with basics at all. I think it's been a very difficult process. There have been some very hard decisions to make here, and our community is hurting as well. And I'm an experienced councillor, and I know this council has been above board with everything, and I commend them, the officers and the councillors. Even though this is a one-off rate increase, we must be mindful that CPI is still higher than our rate cap. We can't possibly be, we're playing catch up in a sense here, because the cost of materials, the cost of wages, the EBAs, rejuvenation of assets, replacement of assets, roads, maintenance. There's a lot that our community deserve and expect. And I believe that we have not shortchanged them in any way at all. We're keeping our head above water. We've made responsible decisions. And in my experience, I commend this budget and our officers and our councillors. We've worked pretty hard to get here. And that's really all. It's been complex and difficult. I'll agree with Councillor Drolly on only that point. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cornish. Councillor Hockey?
I was just going to note again that we did take the deliberative engagement panel's input really seriously and treated it with the greatest of respect. So just wanted to note that.
Thank you. Short and sharp. Councillor Hood, that leaves you. Now, Councillor Hood, I have indulged other speakers because I think it's very important, and if you happen to go over by a minute, I'm not going to look at the stopwatch beyond that. But after that, I will.
I haven't got a stopwatch in front of me, so but I would like to thank you, Mayor, to make some observations. And like others before me, I've already complimented the asset plan as a very solid plan. I'd also like to remark on the council plan very positively in that it's been trimmed down to 3 domains. It's much more outcome focused. There's only 3 strategies within each of the domains. I think that it's well focused, hopefully far more affordable than the previous plan, and I think it's been well constructed. But I too would like to make some observations on the budget, which has been, I note, prepared under the cloud of a projected $4 million a year cash shortfall. This year's underlying deficit is likely to be, adjusted underlying deficit is likely to be $6.8 million, with a cash neutral result this year, largely due to the fact that we've taken out another $5.5 million loan. As elected representatives, we must acknowledge that ratepayers are enduring challenging financial times with many under mortgage stress and cash flow hardship. This is evidenced by 2,420 ratepayers, about 30% of our residential ratepayers, falling into arrears with rate instalment payments. The most recent quarterly financial statements reveal that more than $3 million in rates is overdue, with $1.8 million of that being more than 1 year overdue. The draft 25-26 budget allocates $31 million to cash operating expenses to provide services, plus $13 million to capital works. Depending on a wide range of assumptions coming true, the 25-26 year is forecast to essentially break even on the income statement, but cash holdings are projected to fall by a further $1.6 million. To achieve that outcome, rates will be increased by 10%, as we know, and we've cut operating costs by $2.5 million, following the $1.5 million reductions in this financial year. Now, I too have some reservations about the allocations. The budget document does disclose that cost savings will be secured across a range of services, should those changes be fully implemented and on time. Most notably, of the $31 million allocated to fund services, Only 2.4% will go to customer services, 1.6% to early and middle years programs, 1.6% to libraries, and a whopping 0.6% to youth services, all core functions aimed at supporting families. I am concerned that rating the till on such soft targets negates the incentive to find operational efficiencies elsewhere in the organisation in far larger budgets. An amount of $375,000 has been allocated to further planning and design works for the second stage of the Daylesford Town Hall redevelopment, in itself a $15 to $20 million project. While I fully appreciate the need for long-term project planning, the timing of incurring such a substantial cost may be premature when the requisite grant funding is not yet on the horizon and the critical social licence for the project is yet to be widely established. The budget document does outline a number of performance indicators. Two examples are a projected modest improvement in customer satisfaction from 52% to 55% over a 5-year period, and an improvement from 18% to 45% for planning applications decided within the required timeframes. By contrast, I am supportive, as I said earlier, of almost 55% of the capital works program being allocated to roads, drainage, footpaths next year. I was going to comment further on communications. The budget is asking ratepayers to accept a 10% price rise while receiving 12.5% less service. We've only just this afternoon been given a communications plan that is going to be critically important because there are many, many unanswered questions and much more detail needs to be outlined. If another minute or so, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
No, Councillor, you're already 4 minutes and 26 seconds, so if you could.
Okay, my final comments are away from the micro level of the budget, and I'm looking at the bigger picture now, and this is where I have more major reservations. The need for a 10% increase to rates plus the $2.5 billion in operating costs highlights that council's ability to meet legislated obligations to provide services in response to community needs is seriously compromised.
Thank you, Councillor.
I've got some more comments that I think should be aired.
Councillor, I do have to work somewhat to the governance rules. I've been reminded of that.
The governance rules also give you some discretion, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor, I have exercised that. It's 5 minutes and 18 seconds, Councillor, and it is time limited to 3 minutes.
This is a critically important budget, Mr. Mayor, very different to most years. I'll find other media in which to publish my remarks.
Councillor, how much longer?
Sorry?
How much longer do you?
I don't know.
You don't know, okay. Well,
I haven't.
Can't allow everyone else to have a minimum speaking time and you to go on at more, perhaps double the time. Just can't do that. Unless people want to hear.
I'd support hearing Councillor.
Are you moving that Councillor would be given an extended time? Let's move Councillor Riley. We've got a seconder for that. Don't have a seconder.
That's truly pathetic.
Okay, but it may be, but that's the will of the council, Councillor Hood. I can't change the governance rules, and I was prepared to let the council make a decision, and the council have decided that that's it. So I must.
You've made a ruling, Mr. Mayor. I respect that. You've chosen not to use your discretion. That's up to you.
I have used my discretion, Councillor. I've given you twice, and I'm not having an argument about it. Thank you. All right. Having heard all that, I will now. Councillor Clark, do you wish to close the debate?
Sorry, yes, just a very couple of very short remarks. I would just in relation to, I think, moving forward, I actually want to acknowledge the leadership that this council has done in this space. Difficult decisions do actually demonstrate leadership, and I also want to acknowledge that we're going to have to do a lot more leadership and more difficult leadership moving forward. And I think one of the other things we need to do as a council, we do actually all need to work together as well on that point. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay, all right.
This,
Well, councillor,
while
the
I'm-
debate's closed, but. So I'm going to put the motion now. All those in favour? Those against? I'll declare that carried, and that's
Division, please.
councillor Henderson, councillor
Hewitt.
Hewitt.
Sorry, through the division call, see.
I understand there's a division. I haven't cooked it. You haven't declared who's voted yet. Councillor Hockey, councillor Dryly, councillor Cornish, and councillor Clark, with councillor Hood abstaining. Thank you. So I'll take that as a vote against those. Right, you've called a division. Okay. Put up your hands. Those in favour. Councillor Cornish, councillor Dryly, councillor Hockey, councillor Hewitt, councillor Henderson and councillor Clark, and councillor Hood abstaining or against. Yep, thank you. I'll declare that carried. Councillors, and thank everybody for your attendance and
And through you, Mayor, giving council's resolution, all of those documents and feedback will be available on our website. Hopefully tomorrow, Thursday, latest.
okay, thank you.
Closed at 6:52, Mayor.
Excellent. Thank you all and have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.